get started. If you have any questions or anything's unclear, please feel free to stop me. We usually go for around a half hour, 25 minutes. So we're still towards the beginning of the Ramchal. Oh, Lorinda, I think you have a copy. So if you're following along in the Rabbi Naaman edition, we're on page 89.
Okay, thanks.
And if you have another edition, it's part 1, chapter 3, number 13. That's where we're at. And we're towards the beginning of the book. And the Ramchal, Derech Hashem, is a book of basic Jewish belief, philosophy, and practice. And he is calling from all areas of Torah, especially Kabbalah, and telling us how to, just the basic beliefs of Judaism. So we started, why did God create the world? Certain things we know about Hashem, most things we don't know about Hashem, we can't figure out. Then we moved on to talk a little bit about human history and the composition of a human being and the purpose of the human being. And we said that the purpose of a human being is to get shlemus, get completeness, and the way that one gets that is by acquiring completeness for himself. How does one do that? That a human being has struggles, and by overcoming those struggles and performing mitzvahs, one acquires shlemus, completeness, and when one acquires shlemus or completeness, he earned it himself, and by earning it himself, he becomes similar to Hashem in a certain aspect, which allows him to cling to Hashem, to be close to Hashem. And being close to Hashem is the ultimate reward and the ultimate pleasure that a being can experience. And that is why God created the world, is to give pleasure and give hana to a being. And the being which God created to get that enjoyment is the main purpose of creation. And that being is human beings. So therefore, human beings are the main purpose of creation. God didn't create the world for angels or anybody else. Human beings. It's all about us. And we spoke about how God originally created Adam, and the world before Adam sinned was a totally different world than it is today. What we call spiritual, that's what Adam would call physical. He was on a level that we wouldn't even be able to see Adam before he sinned with our physical eyes. It was a totally different plane of existence. And when he sinned, humanity got changed. And the entire purpose now of humanity is to get back to the point of Adam before he sinned. So with that, we spoke a little bit about human history. But before we get into that, it's important to know the Ramchal also said that a human being is composed of two parts. A human being has a body and a soul. The soul is the part which yearns for spirituality, to connect to God, and the body is the part which is physical and is drawn to physicality and things of that nature. And that was even before Adam sinned. There was a body and a soul, but the body, evil entered a human being, and a person became more physical after Adam sinned. Now, we mentioned that the entire purpose of creation is to get back before the point before Adam sinned, and after that we would get to Olam Haba. Now, when we say Olam Haba, people often think that Olam Haba means heaven, where people's souls go when they die now. That is incorrect. Olam Haba is this world when it's going to be recreated, which is that the way human history goes is that before the year 6000, Mashiach is going to come. He could have come since the year 4000, but we haven't earned it. We haven't been worthy of it. After Mashiach comes, there will be a great knowledge of God. People will understand the truth of Hashem, and will still have a Yetzer Hara, will still have a desire somewhat to do evil, but it will be so clear, the knowledge of God, that nobody is going to do evil, because everything is so clear. Now, after that, there's Tchias HaMesim, which is the resurrection of the dead. People who've died, their bodies and soul will reunite. And then after the year 6000, the world will be destroyed for 1,000 years. And then after that, the world will be recreated in a new form, which is Olam Haba, which is the world to come. Now, in that recreated world, that is where human beings get their reward, for those who have a portion in the world to come. And as we mentioned, the Mishnah says, Kol Yisrael yesh lechem chelek le'olam haba. The entire Jewish people has a portion in the world to come. A person only loses it if he does something very, very bad. A few things, different things that are egregious sins, heresy, things like that. but the world will be recreated. Now, when God is going to destroy the world, that's not a negative thing. During that 1,000 years of destroying and recreating the world, the righteous and those who have earned it, who will be in Olam Haba, will be having some sort of spiritual pleasure during that time. So then the Ramchal started talking about the difference, the purpose of the soul. Now, we mentioned that the soul, its purpose, it desires spirituality and to get close to Hashem, to get close to God, but also the soul has another purpose. The purpose of the soul is to purify the body, is to make the body more spiritual. Now, we mentioned that only happens, right? Right now, every human being, we all have a body and a soul. But the soul now is prevented from totally purifying the body, and that will only happen when the soul rejoins the body at Tchias HaMesim with the resurrection of the dead. And that's where we left off, and we're going to talk a little bit about more of that concept. One thing I didn't mention is that, so where do souls go now? People who die now. We said that's not called Olam Haba. So we mentioned that's called Olam HaNeshamas or Gan Eden. When a person dies now, all the people who've died in human history, their body and soul separate. The body should go in the ground, and the soul goes to Olam HaNeshamas, where the soul gets a reward which is similar to what it will get in Olam Haba. Now, someone asked last week, I don't know if they're here, the person who asked, that does the soul elevate in Olam HaNeshamas when it's there? Meaning the people who've died now, can their souls go higher and higher? Meaning that's why we say Kaddish, so people's souls will get closer to Hashem. And we're going to see this week from the Ramchal, the answer is yes, that the Neshama benefits, the soul benefits from being in Gan Eden, and actually strengthens the soul so that when it returns to the body after the resurrection of the dead, that it will actually purify the body. Okay, so with that, continue from where we left off. Again, page 89. Any questions on anything so far? Clarifications? All good? Okay. V'ulam. Sarach sheteda ki gam ata behikanes hanashamu baguf ha'over. Even now, when the soul enters the body, and which will not be here forever, right? All of us one day after 120, we're physically not going to be here anymore. Afu pi shelo kansa adayin shlemus b'maaseha, hine mitzad yikara v'zahara ha'atzmi. He says, even though a soul that enters a human body, even if it hasn't done anything to acquire shleimus, meaning the soul has not yet done any mitzvahs, has not served Hashem in any way, nevertheless, the soul is so holy that its nobility and its radiance has the power to totally purify the physical body. Meaning, really, the soul, when it's put into a body, should just totally overpower the body and purify and spiritualize the body. To the point where we wouldn't be called human beings anymore. That's what should happen. But that doesn't happen. Amnam, why is that? The reason is because God decreed that the soul should be suppressed in the body, and its strength should be hidden and minimized. Its radiance should be minimized. So we shouldn't go too much to the spiritual. But it should be sitting there enclosed. And the level which is required, which is needed for God's intent. And it can do what it needs to do for the body, and the level that what it needs for Hashem. And the reason is, we mentioned that we're put into this world because we have a body and a soul, so they have to be balanced. The body and the soul have to be balanced so that we have a choice to go after mitzvahs and to serve Hashem, or to do averos and not serve Hashem. So if it would be that really the power of the soul, its reality is that when the soul would enter a body, that it would purify, it really has the strength to just totally purify a body and to not even be human anymore, and to not even be physical, but that wouldn't be what Hashem intended. Hashem intended that we have free will, and we can only have free will if there's a balance. So to make that balance, Hashem made that the soul is suppressed within the body in all of its potential radiance, and spiritualizing effects would be limited. Okay. Now he says, After, he's going to say that when is the soul, let's say the force of the soul, unleashed, as it were? That's only Tchias HaMesim, after resurrection of the dead. After a person dies and his soul goes into Olam HaNeshamas and his body is in the ground, when the soul and the body reunite, then right away the soul will have its effect. But right now, when we do mitzvahs, the soul itself has the power to, quote-unquote, spiritualize. However, Hashem made it suppress. But when we do mitzvahs and we serve Hashem, the soul becomes more and more spiritual and has more and more of a power to shine and be radiant. Now, someone asked this question a few weeks ago. Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, it says he went to heaven with his body and everything. We mentioned there's an interesting tshuva from the Trumas Hadeshen. I'm not sure what the answer is, but he asks, one of the ways a woman is allowed to get remarried is if her husband dies, right? So usually when someone dies, we know when they die, right? If a person, I'm not talking about where you don't know where the person is or something, you don't know if he died, but if a person's in front of you, you can tell if he's dead or not, then his wife can remarry. But Eliyahu Hanavi, he went up to heaven with his body and everything. So he didn't really die, he just totally went up to heaven. So there's a tshuva written if his wife is allowed to get remarried or not. Very interesting responsum. So Eliyahu Hanavi, he was one of the few that his soul, the potential energy in the soul to spiritualize, was actually came out to the point where it made his body also spiritual, and his body and soul went up to heaven together. This happened to a few people in history, like Chanoch, and also Moshe Rabbeinu. It says he had Karen or Panav, he had horns of light. These horns of light of Moshe Rabbeinu was this aspect that the soul was having that effect on his body. But for even very righteous people, the soul can't do everything it can until Tchias HaMesim. Vehine, Ramchal continues, according to a person's good deeds that he does, the soul should branch out. It should shine more and be more radiant. And then it would purify the body. But this can't happen only when it's in Olam HaNeshamas. So again, the soul doesn't, since Hashem decreed that the soul should be limited, it will not practically purify the body. Fine. And also that we mentioned that in Olam HaNeshamas, or in Gan Eden, that the soul will go up higher and higher levels, so that when it returns to the body, it will have that ability to purify the body. And as the Ramchal mentioned before, and he's going to mention again, that a person's body, when he dies, the body isn't gone. The body is going to be recreated. So a person, his soul and his body are always together. Except there's a short time when it's going to be separated, which is in Olam HaNeshamas, when a person dies. But in Olam Haba, after the Tchias HaMesim, after the resurrection of the dead, not only does the soul get pleasure and get reward, but the body also, which we mentioned makes a lot of sense, because the body and soul did the service of Hashem in Olam Haza, in this world, so it makes sense that the body and soul should reap the reward. So, okay, after the soul returns to the body, after the resurrection of the dead, lo tismayid v'lo tisalim, it will not be limited, it will not be hidden. Then the soul will enter the body with all of its radiance and all of its strength. And right away, the soul will purify the body with a magnificent radiance and purification. It won't be needed that it should grow little by little. That we need now for children. That right away it will shine in the body and it will immediately purify with a great purification. What Rabbi Naaman here points out, that he ties the development of a child when a baby, right, doesn't, right, we all know babies, and then baby grows up until it's older and has intellect and knows what's going on, and it's an older child. He says that reflects the impact of the soul on the child. The more impact that the soul has on the child, that's reflected by his maturation process. So when a child gets older, that's the soul having more of an effect on the child, on the body. So I guess the soul, when a baby's born, has a very little effect right away on the body. But as it gets older, it seems to have more of an effect. But after Tchias HaMesim, it's not going to be like that, the Ramchal's saying. It's just going to be boom. Right away, the soul goes back to the body, and Hashem is not going to limit it at all, and it's just going to purify the body right away. V'amnam, lo yimna zeh shiyu laguf u'neshama yachad iluyim achar iluyim, aval ha'inyin hu. This doesn't mean that the body and soul won't go up on higher levels even after that. Shemiyad b'von neshama v'guf, ya adam hu yakar v'nala. After the soul enters the body in this form, it will be noble and elevated. V'gufo yikabel miyad zikuch rishon, and the body will get the first purification. Yis'ala bo mikol ma shehaya bo kol yimei chayav, and he will go up according to all the days of his life, harishonim. V'yazikuch hu kfi kol ha'maisem hatovim she'asa kfar, and the purification will be according to his deeds. V'yasem oso b'madrega sheroilo, and it will be placed in the level that it's befitting to him. Lios ben azochim lehenos b'shleimus, along with those who merit to enjoy the completeness. V'achar kach yisalu shnehem iluyim achar iluyim, and they'll go up level after level. K'vima sheroilo mishahu b'madrega haki, according to what is befitting for the person on that level. So the Ramchal says that it's not just a one-time thing either. After Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead, when the soul enters the body, there is a tremendous purification of the body, and they go up on a very high level. But even after that, when the soul, after Tchias HaMesim, going into the recreation of the world and into Olam Haba, the soul will constantly go up higher and higher spiritual levels and get closer and closer to Hashem and get more and more enjoyment and hana from Hashem. And he also points out that this isn't a pass-fail thing. Everybody's going to be on a different level according to the amount of mitzvos and according to the dedication that he had to Hashem and Olam Haza into this world. So and he will constantly be going up according to that place that he acquired in Olam Haba. Now, I don't know if he mentions it here, but he brings from the Vilna Gaon here. Right, that the enjoyment will be of constantly understanding God and His Torah. Right, imagine if we could understand Hashem. But right, also that now we keep saying that the soul now is limited in the body. So that is true to some extent, but the soul can also have an impact on the body in this world. Now, even though it can't shine forth to its full ability and transform the body into a spiritual being to be totally close to Hashem, the soul does have an effect on the body. I've mentioned this story before. My Rosh Yeshiva said that a photographer in Israel told him, she said that, she takes pictures of big rabbis and she's shocked by they have like a shine on their faces. These like really great rabbis, and she said sometimes she can catch it on film and sometimes she can't. But also I mentioned this story. I actually took someone from Manalapan once. We went to Rav Elyashiv, who was the biggest rabbi in the world, passed away several years ago, and we went to Havdalah, and his face was just like shining, and my friend turned to me after and said like, "Whoa, he's glowing." Like when you meet really holy people, you can tell that there's like something there. You can't like put your finger on it and can't describe it, but there's like a shine. And my Rebbe also said when you see like religious kids, there's like a purity about them and something spiritual where the neshama is shining forth. Okay, any questions or comments? Concerns? Rebuttals? Quiet? Okay, we actually, I think we'll stop here because we finished the chapter. So next week, God willing, we can start with chapter 4. But thank you to everyone for coming.
David?
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to mention one thing.
Yes.
The 6,000-year limit that you mentioned in the Rambam's Guide to the Perplexed, I believe he refutes that based on Torah verses, not just on his own opinion. So all these calculations, about when Mashiach has to come based on a 6,000-year limit to the world could collapse on us because they're not. It's not accurate to assume the world's only going to exist 6,000 years. I just want to mention that.
Yeah. No. If you could show me where that is, I'd be interested to see it because it's a little.
Yeah, I can show you.
It's a little difficult because it's the Ramchal earlier in Aleph Gimel Tes quoted a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Lamed Aleph that says the world is going to be 6,000 years. So the Rambam would never argue on a Gemara. So if you want to show me what he says, I'd be interested in taking a look there.
He can argue on a Gemara if he brings like Pesukim, like Hashem Yimloch Olam V'ed. Like when you're davening every day from Tehillim, Hashem Yimloch Olam V'ed. I think that's one of the Pesukim he brings. But it was the concept of the world only existing for 6,000 years. If I understood correctly, it's in Mereda Bufim. I can believe that, or I'll try to say.
Yeah, show me. Maybe it's a different interpretation of the Gemara, but take a look at the Gemara Rosh Hashanah Lamed Aleph and see what.
The Rambam was referring to the Gemara in Sanhedrin. It's also mentioned there in Per Chelek, and I think he did argue with the Gemara when it wasn't on a halachic issue. That's a misnomer that later rabbis can never argue with the Gemara.
Well, the Rambam himself in his introduction to the Mishnah Torah says he can't argue on a Gemara. So
I don't think he said. You
take a look. All right, it's there's a question.
Not in this type of matter. I don't think he meant that.
All right, we'll have to continue about that. But any other questions, comments? All right, great. Thank you to everyone for coming, and have a lovely evening.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
You can't.
Sure.